There it is. Look at how beautiful that looks. I had so many plans this week, so many different food ideas, but the only thing I want to make right now is meat.
超過の食料庫からお肉取ってきました。後で皆さんで分けましょう。スライスしてパンに挟んで。戻してこい。そうだよ。
Now you can utilize this method with any cut of meat. In this case, I am using some really beautiful flank steak that I picked up locally at Sister's here in Oregon. The butcher shop had a really beautiful cut that I wanted to use, and I was going to use this for some burritos, but after seeing this episode of Attack on Titan, I had no choice but to make this for Sasha. The only things we're going to use is a tremendous amount of black pepper on both sides of your flank steak. We're not going to salt this quite yet. I want to make sure that we get a full coating of black pepper on this to really get that really peppery flavor. Now, if you are using flank steak, you want to make sure that when you roll this steak up, you are rolling it up so that way when you go to cut it later, you're going to be cutting against the grain. That's super important, otherwise you're going to end up with really chewy steak. Once you have it nicely rolled up and nice and tight, grab some butcher's twine. You're going to need around 3 to 4 feet worth of butcher's twine just to make sure you have extra. Start off by wrapping the top and making a double knot so this way it stays nice and tight. To trust this, I am using a very traditional method where you take the butcher's twine and you wrap it over one of your hands, bringing that loop underneath the actual piece of meat, and then making sure it's nice and tight, trying to keep that string as straight as possible so this way all of your loops look really, really nice. Now, when you end up trussing like this and make it as nice as possible, you'll end up with a better sear later so that way the trussing doesn't get in the way of your sear. Bring a long piece right around the bottom of your piece of meat and then tie it off to make sure everything is super nice and tight. You're going to be left with this beautifully trussed piece of flank steak. Now we're actually going to season the top of it with salt. This is the reason why I didn't want to put salt on the inside because I felt like it may draw too much moisture, but we are going to season the top pretty heavily with salt. Don't be afraid to go overboard on the salt, but also don't completely cover it. Now on a sheet tray lined with aluminum paper, grab a baking rack and place your piece of meat seam side down onto that rack. Throw it into the fridge for around 4 hours or overnight so it gets pretty dry for when we go to bake it off. Now this only went for around 4 hours and I am going to bake this off same day. I'm using the Meter Plus meat thermometer that I just picked up for this recipe because I wanted to be able to walk away from it since I am doing the reverse sear method. The reverse sear method needs a longer period of time to cook and this works perfectly for that. Ignore the text that Abigail sends you and set your meat thermometer to a nice medium rare, placing it in the oven at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to go slow and low for this for a reverse sear. While that's baking to temperature, grab a couple of potatoes because it is Sasha. We can't do this without potatoes. Wrap each potato in aluminum foil and then place these into the oven. This isn't anything super special. We are just doing a regular baked potato because this is what she loved. This is what she wanted. She wanted meat and potatoes. Well, primarily meat. She only mentioned meat, but we're going to throw potatoes in here too. Now, Meter had said that my meat was pretty close to being done, so I pulled it out a few degrees earlier than I had set it. I pulled this out at 52 degrees Celsius, so it was closer to a rare than a medium rare. Oh, and my baked potatoes, yeah, we wrap those in plastic and throw them into the microwave because it did not cook at 275, and the microwave is going to have to steam them for us in clutch. Now, to sear off the meat, I am using my very beautiful carbon steel paella pan, making sure I rub it down with just a bit of butter, placing this over a medium heat. We are going to sear each and every side and make sure you do sear this with that butcher's twine still on. If you don't have the butcher's twine still on, it may have a chance of unraveling when you go to sear this. After searing each side for 1 to 2 minutes to get some nice color, throw in a dab of butter and turn off the heat and use that butter to lightly baste the top of it. In hindsight, I probably could have used more butter, but I didn't want to add too much because, well, I'm on a diet and the less butter the better, so that way I can eat more meat, like Sasha. Roll this around and notice the little nub that I ate off of the bottom already, and after 2 to 3 minutes of each side and then basting it with butter, place this on your sheet tray to allow it to cool for around 10 minutes before we remove the butcher's twine. Please, please, please let this cool before removing the butcher's twine. That is very important. After letting it cool down for around 10 minutes, we are ready to unveil the inside of our meat, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my lord. And because the waifu was raised by Gandalf, I had to let her try some of this because she was in the kitchen waiting for her piece. Of course, I took a little piece of it, tried it for myself, and then gave the other piece to her, and her only complaint was she didn't get both slices. Now I'm plating this up on a very simple wood platter that I normally use for cheese plates, but plate it up on anything you want, grabbing your potato out of Chef Mike's microwave, slicing the top of it and making a nice score down the middle, just opening it up and serving it as is. And there it is, the meat and potatoes, the only thing that will help mend a broken broken heart besides this week's sponsor, Skillshare? We have to learn how to mend the broken heart, and the best way to do that is with this week's sponsor, Skillshare. Can you mend a broken heart on Skillshare is the fantastic online learning platform where you can find a ton of classes to maybe you can mend a broken heart that way, but instead you can fill the void with so many other things. I've gone to learning about product photography from Mango Street to productivity from Thomas Frank to now learning about illustration and design from Ryan Putnam. I'm really trying to get back into digital art and graphics and trying to learn how to draw so this way I can make some of my own artwork for my own cookbooks, and Skillshare is the phenomenal way of doing that. What's really cool about Skillshare is the way everything is laid out, how the classes are broken down, and how you can kind of take it at your own pace. I typically finish one class per week, and it gives me this nice little steady pace where I don't feel overwhelmed by trying something new. The amount of classes are infinite at this point on Skillshare. You can literally find anything you want except how to mend a broken heart, apparently. And it is special for you guys. The first 1,000 people to use my link down below are going to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. The total price comes out to less than $10 a month with a yearly subscription. Whether or not you're learning about productivity, how to take a photo, learning about illustration like I am, or how to mend that broken heart because we're going to need it, Skillshare is the place you want to be. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video and helping me mend my broken heart by filling it with graphics and illustration because I need that. And there it is, guys. Sasha's last meal, her final request, her last words, meat. I'd be pretty happy with this. It's just still kind of bittersweet, you know? I mean, I know we're gonna enjoy this, but man, it's been 9 years. 9 years you've been like sucked into this world, and I'm gonna enjoy my meat. Now I know it looks so nice right here. I'm just gonna do a couple of slices so we can see what this looks like. I know Sasha would probably just go all in and just engulf it, but we're gonna be a little more civil. It looks gorgeous. I don't think I've cooked flank steak like this before, and I'm really happy with the outcome. Look at this. Now the one thing is it doesn't hold together too well, but that's okay. I've never cooked flank steak like this before, rolling it up and trussing it, but what happens is it gives it a really nice, even cook to it. Like everything looks really nicely cooked. Can you see? Come on, camera, don't look at me. There it is. Look at how beautiful that looks. It doesn't hold together at all, but I mean, that's okay, because we're just gonna... That reverse sear method, come here. That reverse sear method absolutely is a game changer, and it isn't any more difficult than really anything else. The meat itself is super buttery. It has a little buttery flavor as well, kind of a nuttiness to it from some of the butter that had browned, but the pepper kicks through, the salt is really nice. It's for Sasha. And I know Sasha's gonna check out the merch below over at chefpk.com, where you can also find this recipe. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed, and remember, keep playing with your food. Man. Too soon. All right.